What happens when you cut the face off? The face that may not be yours, but you are allowing that face to come through your hands, through the energy, into the clay of the voices, the being that is expressing itself through you. Are you just numb? Is there no emotion, no connection to that which is in front of you evolving? Or is there a deep, an awakening of something that's happening in your cells in the evolution of this new thing, this new presence in your life, or however long that may be? There is something that happens. There are multiple things that happen. And profound indeed they are. It took 3 days to have the courage to even pick up a knife and start considering to cut it off. I had watched multiples and multiples of videos on taking the clay off the armature. And the more I watched, the more terrified I became. Because it was a monumental first-time event. After 2 or 3 futile attempts to create something that represented a being, they all got trashed. Days went by, and I had to consider or reconsider actually touching it again. And then one day it was like, yes, you have to have the courage to at least pick it up and start again and go for it. And so I did. As you will see, the first one, she evolved very roughly, obviously. I had not a clue of what I was doing. I would watch these experts on the videos, and oh my gosh, and they would make it look so easy. And I would try and do the same thing, and oh my goodness, obviously it was not as easy as one would think. And definitely, the clay has a mind of its own, which doesn't bode well for somebody else who has a mind of their own as well. And so it was like, and clay is living. This was just living dirt, mud, adobe, clay from the earth, pure, that's it. So it was a living being coming through another living being. And so we had to learn to communicate. I didn't ever know that. I had not a clue to that idea, that it and I were communicating to create something. Knife in hand, I gently, tentatively made a slice at the top of the forehead, where the band of the headdress met the skin line, and slowly worked the knife around the visual part of the face, the skin line. It was a remarkable feeling inside. It really was inexplicable that I was actually doing this. There was communication coming through that I was yet to learn what that meant. So I had gone all the way around it, slowly and surely. And then I had to put the knife down and put my hand over the front to hold the face in my hand so I could move and work it off away from the clay of the main head, to have that face in the palm of my hand was another feeling that I had not expected. And I don't have the words for what it was at the time. I have some paper and plastic ready to put it down, wrap her up, spray her in before I wrap her up and keep her airtight so that she doesn't dry out. Isn't that representative of our skin, of our life? What happens to us? We dry out, your skin dries up, it gets crinkly and cracks. Ay, ay, ay. So then I had to go on to take the rest of the head off, and that was to be done in two parts, and I made a slice all the way down the center of the skull, through the headdress, down to the back of the nape, what would have been the nape of the neck. And I thought I was going to be able to take the whole thing off, but realized, obviously, it was very heavy. And so just below where one might say the ear was, I made a slice cutting across it. And so there ended up being 4 pieces to the head. And each one was sprayed and put on the paper and wrapped up gently and carefully. Le visage, the face. That which identifies us to others in the world, the greater world. Le visage reveals our moods, our feelings, our fears, our hurts, our ambitions, our comforts, the beauty that is perceived on the outside and the beauty that emanates from the inside. It is the revelation of who we are in every fraction of a second, and it changes in just as fast a moment. The act of cutting the face off and then holding it in the palm of my hand, even though it was not supposed to be, or I didn't think it was representing the self, it was. At the time, it was in the winter, and I was listening to an audio series by Clarissa Piccola Estes on The Dangerous Old Woman. And that is definitely who I am. At least, according to the age group that she's talking about, absolutely. And according to what I feel and believe is a role of the elder when they reach that 70 mark and beyond, that from there you're a sort of an elder in training. And by then it is assumed, or in most respects, that one has experienced the vast majority of life cycles, experiences, and learned and grown and gained wisdom through these trials and of growth, of error, of joy, love, and everything else that goes with it. I say 70 because it wasn't until that time that I actually realized that prior to that I was still learning. Prior to that, it was every cycle, every decade was something that was being revealed, and I could never have guessed how each decade was going to play out, most especially after 40, and how my life had unfolded. And it was pretty close. It was, in a sense, it was right. It followed my life path. However, how it evolved through the experiences and what they were could never, ever, ever have been anticipated. And so it wasn't until prior to 70 that I used to say, oh, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I know this, I know that, da. And when I hit there, I realized, no, I don't. Because I could never have honestly anticipated how and what the gifts, the joys, the pains, the sorrows, the learning, the absolute growth that was precipitated through each decade and was absolutely necessary to who I am. And it's a challenge. It's a challenge to know who we are. It's a challenge. It's our duty to learn who we are from every depth of possible and every direction possible. Because one perspective is not worth it. It doesn't mean anything. It's just like eating the same meal at the same restaurant your entire life. That's all you ever see. You have to have multiples of choices and ideas and growth and everything else, and accept and challenge them, and challenge and accept them. Taking the face off and literally having it a face, be it yours, if you want to say yes. And I had to say yes, okay, it was going to be mine because that was my experience in the moment. Revealed what was underneath. And the first big thing that came to that was, in order to grow, in order to know, in order to be, you have to be stripped. You have to be taken apart. You have to be literally taken down to the cellular structure of who you are on the physical plane, to be built up again, to be molded and taken off the structure and dissolve the structures of thought and ideas and evolution and life force and everything else that you have been accustomed to and that have been safe. You got to get out of the safe place. Oh my God. That's what it was. You've got to get out of the safety of what is right in front of you. You've got to take that face off and be completely devoid of that. And then build yourself from the inside out. And that which is molded into your hands becomes the new visage. The visage, the face of the new being, evolving.